So it's like a kitchen where you used to cook something else, and that's the tandoor. This is what we call it in language too. It's a tandoor, and the chimney is right up there. But of course, they have a special filtering system in these underground cities, because imagine if directly take this smoke outside, so that would be so visible, right? The enemy could easily discover where people are hiding themselves here. That's why they have a special filtering system. If those kitchens are really close to the surface, or if they have a direct chimney, by the way, you can take picture even with flash in this place because there's no whole painting here. So if it goes directly outside, the enemy could discover it, and people are just, will be in trouble here. The ones close to the surface and they have direct chimneys have a filter stone on the top, which is pumice. You know pumice? We use that for elbow and for the heels on shower. So pumice is like a volcanic-based stone, and it's like a filter of a cigarette. So it absorbs the smoke and the color of the smoke. It goes out less and less colorful, the smoke. Or sometimes the kitchens could be a little lower, and they carve some horizontal tunnels, and through the horizontal tunnels, with the fast air circulation system, just pushing the smoke out, taking it out from the sides. But on the way to going out, through these long tunnels, it is being filtered by the stone, and it goes out less and less colorful. As I told you, the stone of Cappadocia is like a sponge. It's like, like an insulator, nation insulator. So all half of Cappadocia were built the same stone again. That's why people keep themselves cool in summer, cooler, and warmer in winter. They don't have to use AC, of course, maybe a stew, because Cappadocia sometimes gets really cold. The coldest temperature I've ever seen here was -29. But even at that time, when you come down to an underground city, there will be okay again.
Yeah, the one.
Of course, not like 15 or 16, it could be like a little bit less than 10, 10 degrees. So I'm just trying to explain. So it's basically keeping the temperature, cool and constant all year round. And when you look carefully to the surface of the wall here, you see there are lots of traces. They were all done by pickaxe or just chisel. At the same time, they carried everything outside, but without collecting the leftovers of the rock in the same place. Flat and spread into the fields. So otherwise, we could discover the place. Now, we are going down through these long and narrow tunnels. From now on, ladies will find your hat and your bags.
The main reason is protection.
Let's go.
It means that the people used to live in this country temporarily, not permanently. Permanently, but here, you go back.
See, these are some little holes here. Of course, these are not, recently done. They used to be there here because these are the food storages. In this heavy traffic area, they carve their food storages, or even underneath their sleeping rooms, or even in this heavy traffic area, people pass through, from one side to another. People carve their or build their food storages in here, but of course, not directly keeping them on the rock. So let's see next door here. And then basically more about how they used to preserve this food or the wine or the liquid stuff. Of course, this is an original pot, but not originally discovered here. Because unfortunately, for about 800 years, no one did care about these underground cities. Whoever came here, they destroyed or they just plundered, because some looters had come down to the underground cities, to look for some treasury, but it is not possible to find any treasury in the underground cities of Cappadocia, because people were both poor, and they only brought their, and also they brought their necessary stuff to downstairs, only to survive, such as, covers for the floor, but as we believe, through these low and narrow tunnels, it's not possible to bring some furniture, right? Maybe a bed downstairs. They were sleeping or sitting on the floor, but not directly. First, they covered the floor with a thick layer of straw, maybe dry grasses, and the top by a cushion, maybe a carpet, maybe animal skin, which is much better. They were sleeping or sitting on them. Something to be rolled. So imagine this big, jar, which is very wide, could be fit into these low tunnels. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it was into pieces, in different pieces, and just attached and just connected here, right there. Probably this is not from this underground city, because the original ones were already broken, because people have come down here to look for some treasury. But probably, so they have plundered everything here. But of course, not possible, because people brought just their pots and those kind of stuff. And this is an escape tunnel to go somewhere else, but the rest of it is just blocked right now, and we are not able to go there anymore. This is one of the wineries, one of the wine pools, to get the juice of the grape, or sometimes they were making grape molasses, but mostly they were making wine. And this is not the only one we see here. Later on, a few steps later, we're going to see some other small wineries and some wine pools as well. The reason why there are lots of wineries in the underground city, because that proves us, not only in war, but also in peace, people were using these underground cities to make wine because of the constant and perfect temperature for the fermentation of wine. 15 or 16 Celsius is perfect for the fermentation of wine, or to make wine. So, and of course, the other reason is, wine is one of the most important income of those people. So, in case of an attack or in any invasion, they never stop making wine here. Or not only in war, but also in peacetime, they were coming down, make wine to sell them, to make money. Because otherwise, when they come outside, how they can survive if they have no money? They will be slaving. They were escaping from slavery, and they're going to be slaves too.
Yeah.
You are going to see the winery. This way, please. Please wash your hands and mind yourself.
So, as I told you, the wine, the water, or the food, not directly kept or preserved on the rock. Because the rock of Cappadocia is like a sponge. It absorbs the humidity. It just, it can easily sip downstairs. That's why, first of all, they just put their food or their liquid stuff into these rectangular jars and preserve it in these holes on the floor. And the grill, whatever, which I'm standing on, so it's not the original one, of course. So there used to be another stone lid here. But of course, the original ones were broken, not to make the people fall inside, we just blew them up, right here. So now, we're going further down here to the third floor of the underground city to see, at the end of it, to see one of the big rolling stones and part of the ventilation shaft. Okay, let's go this way. Down, so let's go down.
Where's the toilet? She asked, which is a really good question.
Where's the toilet? Here.
Right? So I know outside there is one.
Yeah.
So,
More than one.
yeah. So maybe you'll be here one day. More.
So we are handling like the third floor of the underground city. But of course, these aren't the original numbers or original floors of these underground cities. We numbered them later on recently, just to make the visitation easier and quicker and much more understandable. And this is the ventilation shaft, and you can understand how deep or how many meters deep we are right now. So we should not directly go into the surface. But of course, the connection place or the entrance of this this hole or this tunnel on the surface was then open like this. Otherwise, the enemy could easily discover this place, and by taking these footholes, deliberately carved to go up and down for the excavation, maybe for transportation, if they should transport something else, it needs to be covered. In some underground cities, so it is totally covered, or there's just like little holes for the airspace, or in some underground cities, they just look like graves, but empty graves. There's no dead body inside of it. This is just to make the enemy to respect them. So it's just a trap for the enemy. So the enemy would be respecting the grave, nothing, not touching here, and then go somewhere else. So otherwise, it could be easier to discover. Now, let's talk about one of the secret issues of these underground cities. Do you see, have you ever seen such a big rolling stone before? Except the Indiana Jones movie? Yeah, right? So of course, the one Indiana Jones was much bigger than this, and following the Indiana Jones and I think some of his friends, I'm not that sure. So about a few years ago, some crazy guys, some Turkish guys, they pushed them and they blocked the tunnel for about 2-3 hours. But that's why I'm not giving any pressure. Just stop here. Yes, as you see, the side of the stone is much bigger than the tunnel, right? As I told before, to keep the enemy, slow, or to make them slow, and also to keep the enemy outside, so those tunnels were carved low and narrow. So the enemy should come down one by one. At the end of it, some soldiers are waiting for them. Not here, but in some other underground cities, there are some little holes on the ceiling of these low tunnels. So where the soldiers are waiting with their spears, maybe arrows, maybe something sharp, they drop them to their head and kill them. Because once you kill some of your enemies inside of it, it will be capped. So the enemy could not go further. Not here, but in some other rolling stones, but of course it's not a rolling stone with Mick Jagger, not the famous rock band. There might be a hole in the middle, sometimes to wash the enemy or to get the air supply, because of the connection with these ventilation shafts, or the main reason to push the enemy back. Because otherwise, the rock of Cappadocia is very soft and very fragile. This touch the surface of the rock, it comes off really easily, right? Like it is coming really easily. It looks very white compared to this. It is much lighter, right? Because this one has a connection with the main rock. That's why it is getting lots of humidity, and because of the touch of the people's, oily hands and oily skin, it becomes a bit darker. But once you first carve the rock of Cappadocia, it becomes white. Now you see it is getting darker, much more grayish because of oxidation. And it was not carried from somewhere else. It was a part of that tunnel, not carried. First cut and separate from the rock as a rectangle, maybe irregular shape of stone, and all the edges being shaped to make it round and roundish to push it easily. Otherwise, if there are some corners, you have to slide it, but this will be very heavy because this is maybe almost like 1,000 kilograms, maybe 1 ton in weight. Ne haber? İyiyiz. Ne zaman da görmüyorum seni.
Valla görüşemiyoruz. Yer aldı.
So it's almost like maybe 1,000 kilograms, maybe 1 ton in weight. And we have also smaller and bigger ones here in these undergrounds. There may be some other underground cities too. Depends on the size, or depends on how many people could open or could close it down. Because this is the way where you push from this way, so it is just locking the tunnel, and when you push from the other side, it is just opening. But it cannot be opened from outside because it is very low and narrow, right? Because imagine how many people, or how many strong men, or how many soldiers you need, to move this. But in a tunnel, just 1 or 2 people can stand there, right? Like that, side by side.
Yeah.
2 people can do that? No, I don't think so. And when you look there carefully,
yeah.
You wore a mask now?
Yeah, I use it because of the cave.
Oh.
Just to be on the safe side. They got passages down this way.
You can see.
Right.
That might be ground floor.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to go to the edge. Possibly all connected. Yeah, over there you can see it going inside.
What's that inside?
More passages going straight in.